Hey guys, welcome to ASR. I'm Nick, this is Marc-Andre.
Hey everybody, so we're just here to announce that in this current season of PRL, we'll be giving away 2 ASR 3s to 2 lucky winners. So stay competitive, keep racing fair, and may the best man win.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Both championships sit on the verge of being decided, but these situations leave those trailing with nothing to lose. It may just throw up some unexpected scenarios for our points leaders. Let's see if they can roll with the punches as we get ready to watch Round 9 of the PRL GT Amateur Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. To start things off, our Ferrari drivers will face off on a circuit that has been recreated virtually many times over the years. Let's head to our track guide to learn a little bit more about it. Welcome to Laguna Seca. Located just east of Monterey, California, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more scenic American road courses. It travels up and down a hillside which not only offers spectacular views, but one of racing's most iconic corners. Clocking in at 2¼ miles in length, 11 turns split up the Welcome to Laguna Seca. Located just east of Monterey, California, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more scenic American road courses. It travels up and down a hillside which not only offers spectacular views, but one of racing's most iconic corners. Clocking in at 2¼ miles in length, 11 turns split up the current configuration. I say current because up until 1988, the track's layout was shockingly simple with a mere 9 dangerously fast corners. But despite becoming a much more technical track, this difficult nature was retained in its modern form. Turn 6 in particular places an emphasis on precision and daring with its tricky dip at the apex and narrow racing line. But the most well-known spot on the track is of course the corkscrew. Blind and kinked on entry, it then whips the driver through a chicane which drops you nearly 60 feet. It's earned a reputation worldwide for forcing even the most daring competitors to second-guess themselves. But there's honestly a refreshingly wide variety in types of corners, making it a perfect track for driver coaching and training. Elevation changes, differing cambers, and every sort of apex imaginable leaves seasoned veterans and newcomers alike spending hours trying to perfect a lap. With the track becoming popular for hosting IMSA, IndyCar, and MotoGP in its recent history, it also brings out lots of vintage racers due to the Monterey Historics each year. Likely to remain a fixture on the American racing scene, this legendary circuit is almost always high on drivers' best-of lists. Its history and its uniqueness are sure to delight all for years to come. Well, DJ, if I'm honest, this is one of my favorites in terms of racing tracks, probably throughout the world. But with GT3 cars on it, how do we expect this to behave?
Well, Joe, this may be a fans' and drivers' favorite circuit, but it is not the favorite of those who like to see overtaking. Laguna Seca is a very, very tricky place to get a pass done. There's really only about 3 overtaking zones on the entire course, and all of them are very, very difficult. The first one is down the long run on the main straightaway going into the Andretti hairpin, but we've been able to see defense around the outside or the inside in there, so it's not as straightforward as you think. From there in these GT3s, as you work your way up the hill, there's not a whole lot until you've got to find out who is the bravest on the binders going through the world infamous corkscrew. And because of iRacing's off-track limits here, we will not be seeing a Zanardi move today. From there on out, though, the only real opportunity you're going to have to do anything is going to be going down into turn 11, that heavy braking zone leading onto the main straightaway. It's a bit of a last-ditch maneuver, but it is a way to get a move done. Other than that, this is all going to be about just applying pressure to that driver in front of you.
We've seen that both in real life and here in the virtual world. Before we get to the racing, we want to remind you that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced SimRacing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Today's broadcast is also brought to you by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Tonight's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT AM series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. As we mentioned in the intro, the championship is not that thrilling up for the lead, at least as it sits right now. Wager could still lose the championship, but with him a full wins ahead, and with the final round not offering or not allowed to be used as a drop week, basically he has to be outscored this evening. And the easy way to think about it is that if Wager finishes 16th or higher, he has clinched the championship. So Eric Luke really needs the win and as many bonus points as he can get. Rafael Bofill is in a bit of a fight with him, with Stetzel not that far back as well, and Leif Hellberg about 10 points back from Stetzel. It's pretty much come down to a battle for best of the rest amongst our drivers. What about in the teams championship here, DJ?
Well, in that team's championship, Joe, it is a little bit tighter at the top with Eagle Vision Racing holding only a 7-point advantage over Apex Button Box. But from there, a huge gap back to Improper Racing. But Parabola Racing Cobalt keeping them honest, only about 16 points back. And Parabola Racing Midnight, well, they're back there in 5th, although they are in an island unto themselves.
As for today's race, if you haven't watched before, this is basically a sprint race, 35 minutes, but they do have a pit stop for fuel as they have a limited fuel cell in these Ferraris. It is also fixed setup, so drivers are basically on identical machinery out there. There is a drive-through penalty at 13 incidents and a disqualification at 17. This is a track that makes it easy to get off tracks, especially through the corkscrew or just kind of dipping your wheels off at turn 6. We'll see if anybody racks those up enough. And then there's those bonus points that I mentioned earlier that Eric Luke's going to be looking for: the fastest lap, the pole position, or 3 incidents or less. The only one that can be earned by multiple drivers is that 3 incidents or less. The others basically goes to one of them. So it's definitely on Eric to try and be quick today. And based on what we've seen in the warm-up here, he's not looking like he's got anything for Wager, because it's about 0.7 of a second difference between Wager and Luke in practice, which has just ended, and we're off into qualifying now. So the drivers going to make their way on to the circuit, and as we see the temperatures, this is a very lovely track for California. It is set in November, so I guess that's why we're getting a little bit of cooler temperatures.
Well, Joe, as a Californian, I can tell you that 67 degrees is just about frigid, so very, very cold for these drivers by California standards. But the track temperature of 78 degrees, that's going to be just about perfect for them. Not a whole lot of wind out there. That will help, and a good amount of humidity. Not a lot of downforce generation in these GT3s, but with 72% humidity, that air will be a little bit thicker. They'll be able to go through these corners just all that much more quicker.
Indeed, and trying to get those tires up to temperature right now here on their out laps. We're watching Baron Glover currently, who's getting himself up through turn 5 and towards turn 6. Now we check in on Eric Luke instead in the 709. He's coming through that corkscrew, plunging down the hill. There you can see car halfway disappearing over the crest with how much elevation change there is in that one little portion, and down back to the bottom of the hill very quickly into the last 2 corners.
Yeah, indeed, Joe, and I've had the pleasure of sitting in those trees right by the corkscrew, and I can tell you, no simulator, no television in the world can prepare you for just how big of a drop that is. It is one of the few things in my life that I have been able to experience that truly took my breath away. Absolutely incredible. But Luke here going down through that Andretti hairpin. One of the things that makes this such a great corner is there are so many lines to take through there. You saw Luke really sort of diamonding off the corner, taking it narrow at entry, letting it run wide, and then narrow at exit. We've also seen some drivers taking more of a later apex through there. He's looking a little bit squirrely there through those fast sweeping corners, though. I think he's pushing pretty hard here on this first flying lap.
He finds himself back up into second in the points, and he has 2 wins to his name compared to Jonathan Wager. But we have to remember that he missed 2 rounds, so that's why Luke is only just recently getting back up into P2. It's been an uphill battle for him in regards to that. The Wager did take a missed round himself, so he does have a drop week that is at 0. So he's experiencing a little bit of the similar woes, just not quite to the same degree. And coming to the line, I do believe we have our first laps getting ready to be set as we head over to Jonathan Wager now off that final corner and across the timing line. Let's see what he can set. It's a 120.7, And Eric Luke follows him at almost a second behind on that first lap.
That's not too terribly surprising. We saw Wager about 7/10 up. John Stetzel, though, able to bump his way up into P2 right now. Barry Cochran looks like he's good enough to go into P8. Waiting for a few more drivers to cross over the line here. Ficadenti, I think, just did. That'll get him into 8th.
Rafael Bofill managed 4th. He's had some bad races recently. I think he's not been in the top 5 in the last 3 events. So he's going to try and bounce back, see if he can catch back up to Luke, who we check in with once again out of 6 and into the corkscrew over the crest. There he comes, plunging down through and into Rainy Curve. As he comes to the final 2 corners. Can he make up on that 21.7? Put him into 3rd place, about half a tenth off of Stetzel, up into the hairpin on the final corner, just glancing that curb to the inside. It's looking decent, and the timing on the bottom looks like he should be good, and it's a 21.5, 2/10 faster, still not close to Wager, but back onto the front row.
Indeed, and here comes a flurry of more drivers coming across the line. Let's see if Stetzel is able to improve. He's able to get his way up there, but about 100th of a second off of Eric Lufleaf. Hellberg able to bump his way up into P5. Peter Lee setting a time out there as well. He'll be down in 19th. Looks like we've got a couple of more drivers. Lawson Christie now going to be crossing the line to put his first time down. Eric Evans, as you see on your screen, trying to improve from that 15th place position. Let's see if Evans has it. Does not on that lap. I'm looking for any more improvements across the field. Owen McLaughlin able to come into the top 10 with a 9th place.
Indeed. Ficadenti not able to go quicker that time by. In fact, a very slow lap for him. Not sure what happened there, as Drew DeWeese does not improve, has his lap deleted. We're watching Luke out of Rainy, and just ahead of him, Brian Hoskins is in 10th. He's coming to the line soon as well. He's only got 1 on the board so far. Let's see what the Apex Button Box driver can do this time by. Can he at least get within half a second of Wager? Can he give himself that glimmer of hope? Crosses. No. A 21.549, about 200ths off.
So not able to do it there, but here comes John Stetzel in that Eagle Vision racing machine. That's not going to be a fast lap for John, so he's going to have 1 more to put into the bank. Leaf Hellberg there. Looks like he's not able to improve as well. Down in the order, I just saw Yannick Belleville able to go well. Paul Wildridge putting in a blinder there to move way up into 7th place.
Peter Lee improves and finds himself in 19th. Christie going to be across again. Doesn't take too long to get around this track. And 122.6 will put Lawson up into 11th, not too shabby. Sumner still looking to set a lap as we follow Paul Wildridge down through turn 4. Charles Sumner, I know, has had at least 1 off in the corkscrew that I spotted during this qualifying session, so he's been having a bit of a rough time, and he doesn't have too much time to try and get a clean one in.
Yeah, he's got to get on it. And Paul Wildridge here, he's really been one of the stories of this season. Oh, is that's going to be an off there coming up through the curve before the corkscrew. I doubt this lap is going to count for him.
It just brushed the gravel there on the outside. It was close. I'm not sure if that'll count as an off track or not. So as he comes through and out of turn 10, now into 11, currently good enough for 7th place, has a quarter of a second to make up to get to Cristelli. Not seen any movement on the timing tower recently, so I think the best has been taken out of the tires. Glover goes up to 6th and then gets bumped to 7th. Wildridge finds himself down in 8th. He improves to a 22 flat, but it's not going to get him any more positions.
No, it is not. Here's Ficadenti currently in 9th right now in that very startling yellow number 4 machine. I just saw Charles Sumner bumping his way up into P15. 16. Ficadenti working his way through. Owen McLaughlin back up to 9. He's going to bump Ficadenti down unless Ficadenti can get a better time here coming out of that final curve and just heading down this main straightaway. Can we do it? Yes, he's able to go a little bit faster if that lap sticks. He's going to get 9th back from Owen McLaughlin.
Checking through the field to see if we have any other drivers able to take another qualifying lap. I do see McCauley has enough time to get around for his 3rd, but after that, I think that might be it. Actually, no, I think the 20 might have time to do all 4. It's just going to be extremely tight. So we're watching Sumner, who did get himself on the board with a 1:22.7. So nicely done for him to finally get one down. That's good enough for 16th place. Here we go. McCauley looking to improve on a 24 flat. Last driver with a time on the board right now. 22.9. That is much better, and that will get him into 19th.
It will indeed. And that Repsol livery machine, I always love the way that thing looks on the Ferrari. So I'm seeing right now Sumner may be able to do a little bit better here, but it looks like that lap's not going to. Oh, it does. He bumps his way up 2 positions. He's up into 14th.
That's going to be his last lap, though, and he is done. Seeing if, let's see, McCauley, I'm not sure if he's going to get across. I forgot to watch the clock as he was crossing to see if he had at least 1:22 left. They cannot complete their hot laps the way they do the qualifying here, since it is solo qualifying. Once the 10 minutes run out, you are actually out of time. And we move on to the race session. 25 seconds left. Is that enough time from the corkscrew?
It's going to be close, Joe. I don't think he's going to get it, but he is going to be pushing for it regardless. Really trying to go over those track limits. Yeah, he is not going to have enough time here. I think this is going to run out about 100 yards before the start finish.
It will indeed. So that means our grid is now set for today. It's time to go through our starting order for today's race, and no surprises based on what we saw in the practice. It is Jonathan Wager on the pole. Eric Luke is a full 7/10 behind him, with John Stetzel starting from 3rd and Rafael Beaufil in P4. Leif Hellberg starts 5th today with David Cristelli in the 6th position. Baron Glover, nice qualifying in 7th, with Paul Wildridge in 8th. Ficadenti only able to get 9th today, and Owen McLaughlin rounding out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th, it'll be Sean Carmody, followed by Barry Cochran in 12th, with Neil Alexander and Charles Sumner behind them in row 7. Lawson Christie's going to line up in 15th, followed by Brian Hoskins, with Blake Ziti and Eric Evans behind them. Joe McCauley will be 19th, and Yannick Belleville rounds out your top 20.
Last 2 drivers to set times was Peter Lee in 21st and Drew DeWeese in 22nd. Matthew Aubry grids up in the 23rd spot without a time to his name, but he is out there on the grid, so it looks like he'll be taking part today of this 23-car field. Certainly a little bit different from what we witnessed at the first round, where we had, I believe it was something close to 50 drivers showing up for this Ferrari Fixed Challenge Series. We're going to start behind the pace car. They'll get a full pace lap, and then they will be ready to go for 35 minutes. So you can see temperatures haven't changed drastically here today. DJ, I'm curious to see who has practiced the pit entry and exit and who has not. This is one of those circuits where it's perhaps, I think, one of the most unique pit entry and exits that I've seen anywhere.
Yeah, it really is. It is a much more narrow and sharper apex of a pit entry. You've really got to get down onto the binders. Very, very easy to run it wide. And then the pit exit here is so long where you're able to be up to speed. You pass by those green cones. You can get up and going, but you've got to follow that line really all the way until it dumps you out to the edge of the Andretti hairpin. And so it's one of those things that's almost a little bit deceiving when we see drivers coming up out of the pits. It'll certainly be something to watch for, and rest assured, drivers will be checking their relatives when they come on out.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think, didn't we even see someone go off into the dirt during pit exit in the IndyCar race this year? Not sure if I'm remembering incorrectly on that, but I know that it is extremely tough to try and nail just right as we see them heading out of turn 3 and down towards turn 4. Can't get it out of my mouth today. Where we've got the sort of new, I guess 30 years old isn't really new anymore, but the newer infield section of this track before we return to the original portion.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, when IndyCar returned here a couple of years ago, there was talks about maybe trying to extend the main straightaway a little bit to encourage some overtaking. That unfortunately not being a possibility around here because of the narrow confines around the course. Kind of what you see is what you get. But what you get, Joe, is one of the bastions of American racing. Everyone from IMSA to IndyCar has come here, and it always provides something special for drivers, for fans. If you get a win at Laguna Seca, it is something to hang your hat on.
Trying to master a course like this one takes some skill and some bravery, no doubt. And you can see why here through that corkscrew down the hill. This is what it looks like with 23 cars rumbling towards you as they drop in elevation worth multiple stories. And already the pace car is into turn 10. It's going to be releasing Jonathan Wager pretty quickly here. Can he run away with this, or will he get caught napping by Eric Luke potentially on the start? That's about the best hope I think we've got for the 709 to try and beat him, unless he's been sandbagging here. And off early, Jonathan Wager takes the green flag here for round 9 of the PRL Ferrari Challenge. Up and over the hill towards the Andretti hairpin. Eric Luke is already well far behind. Stetzel sizing him up, but a good cover off the inside from Luke keeps him from attempting an overtake behind them. Everybody is very tidy into the first hairpin.
They are indeed. It looked like there for a second that Leif Hellberg was going to try to make a little bit of a move around the outside of Rafael Bofill. Oh, big kerfluffle there in the back, Joe.
See Christie involved. Looks like Cochran. Evans also unfortunately caught out by that. Trying to see who first caused that. Looks like Barry Cochran gets turned, I think, by Lawson Christie.
So diving down in here, following Cochran. Oh, yeah, that was a little bit of a cut down from Cochran there in the 711, and just a stoppage there in the middle of the track. You can see drivers just scattering to get out of the way, but a good job for everybody there to hold the brakes, not trying to get back on the throttle too early and cause an even bigger calamity.
Well, it might have been the 711 car, but that gap was not open 24/7. And unfortunately for Christie, that put them both to the back of the field after the first lap. Jonathan Wager leads the first one through with a handy 1.4 seconds over Eric Luke as we come back live. Stetzel still behind Luke by about half a second. Bofill dropping back as well to 1 second behind the podium positions.
Yeah, indeed. And then Jonathan Wager just doing what we've seen him do so many times this season. Everybody kicking up a little bit of dust there at the edge of the Andretti hairpin as they now work their way into that infield section. This is the part of the track, Joe, where we like to talk about that maximum pressure, specifically coming up through turns 5 and 6. These are very, very fast left-handed sweepers climbing up the hill. Drivers have to be very, very careful. If you just put a tire wide, it will send you off.
Cresting into turn 6 and still not able to get up to Luke. Stetzel back by 0.5 now. Cristelli is closing, though, on Bofill behind them. That is for 4th position as they come down through the corkscrew themselves into Rainy Curve. And Bofill much stronger through that portion. It went from 0.2 back up to 0.4, and now back down to 3. It is yo-yoing back and forth as we hop on board with David.
And normally I'd be sitting here talking about setups and maybe that there's a change in that, but obviously this is a fixed setup series, so it is just a matter of driver preference and driver skill on different portions of the track as we continue to ride on board with Castelli trying to close in on that improper racing machine up ahead of him.
Braking hard, and look how close he gets down into the Andretti hairpin. Cristelli certainly seems to be more comfortable on the binders in many of these corners. Down into 3, but he's a bit wide, and that actually costs him. Bofill gets himself some breathing room.
Yes, he does. So Rafael will be a little bit happy here to be able to breathe easy. Ooh, a little bit of a blink there out of Cristelli as they start to mount their way up the hill right now. But there again, Cristelli starts to close in, Joe. This battle just absolutely yo-yoing. You hit that nail on the head.
Seems like they've each got their own strengths in different parts of the track. Right now, if I was Cristelli, I'd just try and get the best exit I can somewhere with a heavy braking zone, because he seems to be able to get right on top of the rear wing of that 786 in those places. Down through Rainy Curve, experiences the aero wash through there and drops back once again to about 0.5 of a second. This is where he really needs to get on it, coming off the final hairpin.
Tries to get that power down. Looks like a pretty decent exit there from Cristelli, but I don't think good enough. Oh, we've had a little bit of a shunt in the back. It looks like Baron Glover got into the side of Mario Ficadenti. Ficadenti fell down the order. He's now down to 9th behind Sean Carmody.
Yeah, I think Ficadenti just punted the rear of Glover, unfortunately, and you can see he gets back going, but he's down in 12th. I'm not sure how much damage he had from that. Here is the replay. You'll see it coming into the final corner. This is onboard Glover. Here we go. Yeah, we want to see coming up behind him.
All right, so there you can see Ficadenti trying to dive down. Oh, just misjudged that braking zone a little bit. Baron sent spinning.
Yeah, back around he goes, and had another little touch. You could see him shoved back straight for a bit, and that was the car getting into him a second time. Oh, and Beaufil is off in the corkscrew. Something happened here. I think there was contact with Cristelli. He was apologizing over the radio.
Oh my goodness, that is not good at all. Let's watch this as it comes down. Yep, just misjudged the braking zone right into the back of Beaufil, and Beaufil has a one-way ticket to the kitty litter.
To be fair, it almost looked like Rafael was turning in very early. I think that maybe caught him off guard. May have been a late defense. It's really hard to say. Regardless, David was unfortunately, like I said, apologetic over the radio, so he hasn't seen the whole picture, but he feels a little bit at fault from inside the cockpit. This has allowed Hellberg to close in on the 009. You can see the battle on screen, or no, you can see Stetzel and Luke on screen right now. This is for second place up through turn 5.
Yes, indeed. And Stetzel just trying to press any advantage that he can. The gap holding at about 0.6 of a second right now, up to about 0.7 as they come around that turn 6, climbing up the hill towards the highest portion of the track. Luke now diving down. A little bit of a narrower entry there for Eric Luke into the corkscrew, but still able to carry some good speed there for the 709. It looks like Stetzel gained a little bit of time there as they come down the hill.
We could see the shot coming off of turn 6. Luke definitely kicked up a lot of dirt. Car looked a little unsteady at one point, is once again under braking. Stetzel closes it down, looks for the shot off the final hairpin as they round these bends across the main straight. A little too far back, I think, for that 13 machine, but he's definitely keeping the 709 honest.
He certainly is. Misjudged the Andretti hairpin a little bit there, did Stetzel, and you can see him losing some of that time. He had gained it down a little bit. Oh, but that's Ficadenti in the back trying to make a move on Carmody. Oh, that was a late maneuver going through the Andretti hairpin, and he got it.
Back up through into 7th place after starting this one in 9th, considering he was even farther ahead before his incident. It was a good day for Ficadenti, and he could still try and make up quite a bit. He's got about 4.5 seconds up to Wildridge, so he's got some work in front of him now before he takes another spot, but demotes the car of Carmody. He also leaves behind Owen McLaughlin in a train that is following him now. We're just about to the first 10 minutes of this event as they are just about halfway through to lap 6 here.
We are indeed, and I anticipate pit stops probably starting around the 15-minute mark. Now, that said, Joe, is that they can probably dive in about as early as lap 22 around here to maybe try to go for an overcut. On a track like this where it's very hard to overtake and drafting is not as key as it is at a place like Spa, for example, if you can pit, get yourself out into some clean air, it can really, really help your progress forward.
Carmody holding on to the back here of Ficadenti a bit. He's fallen to about 9/10 behind, but certainly making sure that he's got to watch over his shoulder lest he makes any mistakes. I wonder if we could jump a little bit in front of them, actually, because Paul Wildridge has been hassling Hellberg for that 5th position. There they are heading through turn 4 right now. Remember, it was Hellberg on the back of Cristelli just a moment ago, but he's already losing touch with that 009.
He really, really is, but who is not losing touch is Leif Hellberg as he pulls in even closer behind Cristelli here, trying to press that advantage.
That's a great run out of turn 6. Is Wildridge able to make the pass here? He's looking at it, but no, not close enough. Ooh, and Carmody's had a wreck.
He has. It was that infamous turn 6, Joe. He just caught the outside grass, well, dirt around here, and just found himself spinning the wrong way.
I think it was a little wide at the apex. There it is. And from there, he was essentially a passenger. Now, just a glancing blow. Looks like he may have gotten away with it. He's down to 18th. We'll see if he comes into pit early, if he's got enough damage that he's got to try and take repairs. He does not, as we come back to Wildridge once again, still chasing on Hellberg. I can tell you, DJ, I've actually seen footage of racing here when there is grass, and it looks strange to me.
You've got one over me, Joe, because I have never seen grass around this place at all. But Wildridge here, as we said, continues to try to close down that gap, eking out just a little bit at this point. Not looking like he's going to be in prime opportunity to attack, but once again, like we saw out of Sean Carmody, if you can force an error, specifically over turn 5, turn 6 there, that can be enough to get you on forward.
Indeed, breaking now into the hairpin once again. Hellberg doing a good job just hitting his marks. He's got to focus forward, keep from letting the 9 car rattle him here as they switch back and then come through turn 10. A lot of banking in that corner and then hard braking here into 11. Very sharp left-hander this one, and onto the main straight. And you can see the rear view screen on board the Ferrari of Hellberg looking back at Wildridge as up ahead of him in the windscreen, Cristelli has stretched away to about 1.3 seconds.
Yeah, really and truly has. Cristelli just putting on some good time here. And Wildridge not looking like he's really able to hold on to the back of Hellberg right now.
Coming down through turn 5. And did Hoskins have a problem? He's dropping down the order. It looks like something happened in the hairpin. Ooh, he got some help from Peter Lee.
All right, well, this is Hoskins, and there you can see Lee in that rear view mirror just giving a little bit of a love tap to the 520, and that sends him spinning around, luckily able to catch it relatively well and pull on back through.
See his perspective from on board his Ferrari and just picks it right back up and gets going. That's how you got to do it. Can't let anything phase you here. Well, in the meantime, up at the front, Wager. Again, we're not really shocked by this based on his pace both all season and in the practice and qualifying. He is about 4.5 seconds ahead of Eric Luke currently.
Yeah, there is your lap comparison, just pulling away lap by lap by lap. Jonathan Wager just doing Jonathan Wager things here.
In fact, much of the front of the field seems to have gapped one another. Luke is about a second ahead of Stetzel. Stetzel's a full 8 seconds ahead of Cristelli. So really the podium has been running an impressive pace here today. Nobody's really been able to touch those three. Up the hill they go, into 6 once again. But we haven't seen any pit stops yet from anyone, so that could change the complexion of things.
Very well could. We talked about that undercut and overcut, finding yourself coming out in clean air. That's really going to be crucial around here, I think, as it's just so hard to overtake here, even in these GT3 machines. Checking back now on the battle for P9, this is Baron Glover. Remember, Glover was involved in that incident with Ficadenti earlier on. He's trying to chase down Alexander ahead of him.
Started from 7th, fallen back to 10th. After his little hit from behind, Alexander in front of him. The next one up that he's got to try and overtake to get back here as they come down into the final hairpin themselves, looking for those brake markers off to the right-hand side of the track, trying to nail it, get the power back down and rolling up the front stretch. Much better exit from Alexander in the 27, and he leaves Glover scrambling to try and catch back up.
Scrambling indeed. That is the right word to use as we check back here. This is a little three-way battle starting to develop. Joe McCauley, Blake Ziti, and Yannick Belleville all going at it here. Ziti in that very, very distinct dark blue machine trying to chase down McCauley in front of him.
Haven't looked at these guys in a minute, and McCauley just in front of Ziti and Belleville through turn 4. Belleville looking very close to that blue car. Can he manage to get one over on him? Belleville up 7 spots from where he began this race. Up 8 spots for Joe McCauley. Remember, he qualified 19th and he's in 11th. Oh, and Belleville is off at turn 5. Looks like just a little bit of a touch in the gravel, and it spun around.
Yeah, just sent him spinning again through that tricky section. And so now we check back in on Glover. Looks like Alexander's been able to pull away just a little bit over the course of the past lap.
Just a tiny hair. Would have thought that Glover would be able to catch him. Wonder if he's experiencing a little bit of damage on that white number 93 with the 2 contacts that he had in the final hairpin. Hasn't come in to get it repaired, though. He's well within the pit window if he wants to take it. But he says, no, I'm just going to try and hold on as long as I can. Ooh, and I think, yeah, a pass just happened for Christie. There he is, over Deweese into Andretti hairpin. The 21 car gets 14th with that one.
Does indeed. Let's go back and check out that replay. Deweese just trying to hold that on the outside there. We ride on board with the 23 Parabola Racing Midnight Driver. The 21 down to the inside, tries to cover it off and not able to do it. That is how you get a pass done through the Andretti hairpin, Joe.
Beautifully done. Well executed. It's definitely going to be the most popular passing place, but as we've seen, mistakes seem to pay dividends, so just sticking with it, and opportunities will arise if you can't make the attack down into that first corner. Here through the corkscrew, Deweese still sticking with Christie, Hoskins behind them. We've also got Charles Sumner playing catch-up back here. Charles started from 14th. He's down in 17th currently. They send it through turn 10. Still none of these 4 coming down into pit lane.
Nobody choosing to bite yet. And remember what I said, prediction I had was about lap 15 is when drivers could maybe think about starting to pull the trigger. We are in the window now. They can come down pit lane and make it to the end, but it's all just about track positioning and not wanting to give that away. As we watch there, the 23 machine, that's Drew Deweese, just having a little bit of an inside run coming out of Andretti. I think that may have cost him some time. That car's looking a little bit squirrely, kicking up a lot of dust around here.
Oh, Cristelli, another victim of turn 6. And I think this is a carbon copy of what we saw before. Watch it on the exit here. Yep. A little bit farther off, but the result is pretty much the same. It spits you back to the left-hand side, but he missed the tire barrier and just hit the concrete.
And very, very bad news for Baron Glover out there. Baron has had a huge incident with Neil Alexander. There you can see it. Neil getting a little tripped up as a result of that contact. And then, right into the side. And both of them just sort of spinning in sympathy and going off.
And Cristelli had a bit of a part in this. He wasn't really at fault. He was trying to limp it home. Oh, actually, no, maybe he did. He had some contact with Neil Alexander beforehand. Yeah, and you can see an off from the car that just went by there. That was McLaughlin, and there's the contact that slowed up the 27 of Alexander. And then from there, well, it all kind of snowballs, and looks like Hoskins is in pit lane because of that. Neil Alexander is as well.
Yeah, so a lot of drivers probably needing a little bit of damage repair around here after that. Just a big, big problem through the corkscrew, and that's not the only time we have seen that happen in real life or in here. But, Joe, we have got to go back to this battle for P9. Joe McCauley side by side right now with Cristelli. Cristelli finally able to get the move on him done, but they were side by side coming up through turn 6. I can't remember the last time I saw two cars do that.
We need a replay of that move. It didn't pay off, but, I mean, McCauley, I got to give him credit just for attempting the damn thing.
Same here, Joe. He sees it. This is coming into turn 5. We're going to ride on board with him. Gets a good run off of the corner, able to carry a little bit more momentum. He can see that 009 is damaged. Goes down to the inside line, almost banging doors, almost forcing Cristelli off the track, but just sticking it in there. A great play by Joe McCauley. It didn't work, but aggression proving out strong here today.
Yeah, both Cristelli and McCauley deserve credit for that one. Fair racing from both of them. Kept it on track. Nobody wrecked, even in one of the scariest scenarios you could imagine. Deweese has since pit, so the 23 is in as we come back to the fight live now. 0.4 of a second. Let's see if Cristelli can keep himself from having to do this twice. This looks like a little bit of a better run through turn 5, so no chance for the 20 to try and go side by side this time.
Yeah, I think that'll be a little bit of a welcome relief there to David Cristelli. He doesn't want to have to go through that one more time. Looks like a little bit of a good run there for McCauley, though, coming up out of turn 6 as they make their way down through the corkscrew. Cristelli, though, has a better line and starts to pull away a little bit from that 20 machine.
Still have only had 2 scheduled stops. Hoskins and Deweese have been in and out. Glover and Alexander are still sitting in pit lane taking repairs currently. So they've gone multiple laps down. On to the front stretch once again. McCauley still chasing, and you can see the damage on the nose of the 009. That might be hurting that straight line speed a bit.
It might be hurting that straight line speed a bit, and it may be especially hurting him through those fast corners of 5 and 6. There are aerodynamic generators on the front of these Ferraris that push the nose into the ground and help those front tires grip and get a little bit of a better line going through there. And so that may be, that was McCauley having a big off.
Oh, this time it looks like turn 4 caught somebody out. I know I've done that before. I don't think, does he touch the gravel here? I think he stays out of it. Maybe not. Oh, just glanced it. Immediately on the brakes, but it didn't help. Oh, and unfortunately not on the brakes after the incident. Who was that he caught there? That is Peter Lee in the 24 who had that contact.
Well, and it looks like, Joe, that we may now have a first set of our higher runners taking some scheduled stops. I'm seeing Paul Wildridge and Mario Ficadenti both diving down pit lane, as well as Peter Lee and Lawson Christie.
All right, a few takers. Seeing what an earlier stop will do for them. Wildridge is already on his way, and it looks like he is in clear air. I'm not seeing anybody around him, so the 9 can now run hot laps.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he needs. That's exactly how he wants to go with it. And so he will be happy to be able to try to just push himself around here the best he can, try to run some good laps. I think that's Sumner maybe directly ahead of him. Yes, it is, but that's not too far. He's far enough down the road. He's okay.
Also, Wager pits, Luke pits, Stetzel. Let's see if Hellberg comes in as well from behind them. Yes, I think we're at the end of the pit window here with 11 minutes to go. This is Charles Sumner out there in 8th place, kind of on his lonesome currently. Wildridge was our highest driver to have pitted. He was in 9th, but Wager is just finishing his stop, and now Jonathan Wager naturally becomes your leading car to have finished his stop. And in fact, looks like Luke coming out behind him. Has Luke regained some of the time? Trying to get a read on this gap. Oh, Wager went off on his pit exit. Wager went wide. It's a good thing he had the buffer he did. You could see some of the dirt there that was kicked up by him as he came out. Let's take a look at the replay.
We talked about how tricky this pit exit is here, Joe. You can go full speed through here, but you don't want to. Just catches a little bit of that outside dirt, little bit of bobble of the car, able to keep it pointed in the right direction, but Jonathan's still suffering right there.
Oof, yeah, and you can't just cross over into the racing surface. You have to go past those blue cones or else you'll get a black flag. So he had to pull back on there and try and come out the correct way, unfortunately. So Wager still ahead by about 3 seconds over Owen McLaughlin currently, but McLaughlin has not taken his pit stop. In fact, this is bad news for Eric Luke, who we see on the screen, because Luke is being held up.
Yeah, he really, really is. Owen McLaughlin ahead of him, yet to come into pit lane. There, it looks like McLaughlin is going to be diving down, but still, that cost Eric Luke valuable seconds.
Ugh. And after he just saw a chance to try and catch up to Wager with the error on the pit exit, it's back up to about 3.5 seconds. Yeah, the outlap was a 43.9 for Wager, and it was a 38.6 for Luke. So yeah, he should have caught up a whole bunch more than he could have.
Yeah, he's gonna be preying on that. And I think, honestly, though, the biggest thing about it is the fact that Stetzel now is within about a 1.1 second or so behind him, and that could really change some things up. If Stetzel could put in some good hot laps here, he may be able to catch up a little bit more.
Had a problem for Drew DeWeese in the corkscrew. He's just getting it going right now. Single car incident, so I don't think we need a replay, but took a long time to get it pointed the right way. Somebody slow up towards the corkscrew. That was Joe McCauley. I think he's just letting them lap him.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. And coming through the corkscrew like that, McCauley just wants to make sure he is not going to be a weaving chicane in the middle of a very crazy chicane. Ooh, a little bit of a... This is very slow. Sean Carmody coming out of pit lane. He can be on full speed there. I wonder if that is the 40 just being a little bit cautious or maybe not recognizing he can get off the pit limiter.
I think he didn't know that he could get off the pit limiter because he's at full tilt now, and that had to have been mounds of frustration for poor Belleville, who was plugged up behind him on the single lane pit exit.
Yeah, it's not like one of the big, wide open FIA Grade 1 circuits where you can pull a Sebastian Vettel and just sort of pop on by through there. You have got to stay single file. As we watch here, they are filtering back out now.
So that puts Carmody back into 16th place now that he's returned to the track. Belleville in 18th. We've still got 20 cars on the lead lap. Oh, DeWeese had another incident in turn 6 this time, just before the corkscrew.
All right, so let's go back and check out this replay here. We ride on board with DeWeese. Oh!
Not supposed to hit that curb at all.
No, that's a big no-no. That probably hurt the suspension of that car, Joe.
Okay, well, DeWeese now down in 20th, losing 19th to Cochran and the first car lap down. Good news for him is McCauley's back in pit lane. So He is able to keep going and not lose too much, Deweese. But we've got 7 minutes left on the clock. We jumped up to the 21 of Lawson Christie. He is chasing Blake Ziti for 10th.
Is indeed, and looking like he's gaining in a little bit. Here is Blake Ziti as he's trying to go there, as that was a cleaner line for Ziti coming down through the hairpin. You can see that Christie, though, is definitely trying to keep up behind him the best that he can. They swing their way down through turn 10. Does Christie have anything for him?
Not this time. In through the final hairpin. He's still holding tight behind Blake Ziti. And he's got a few laps to try and make the overtake if he's got the pace underneath him. He is within striking distance. If he gets a mistake out of the 50, if he shows his nose, though, that could maybe get a mistake. Really sent it up the inside. Unfortunately, that seemed to have shot him deep into the corner.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of the give and take you have to be ready for here at Laguna Seca. Oh, that's Ziti getting off into the grass coming out of turn 3.
Once again, offering a glimmer of hope to the 21. I thought he would be closer than this, though. Comes down. Oh, and he's wide. Now that definitely cost him. Christie shows his nose. Don't think he's close enough to go too wide into 6. Comes back to the racing line. He's got it down to 0.4 of a second. As they approach the corkscrew, could he maybe get another one for Blake Ziti to just miss the apex? He looks a little bit hot into the corner, but he manages it well. Down to 0.3 of a second now. Christie is coming on strong.
Christie is indeed. There you see some good speed coming down through turn 10, trying to make this work the best that he can. He's going to try to get this a perfect corner here, maybe get a good run down the straightaway, straightens out the wheel nice and well, but Ziti looks like he's got a pretty good attack to keep going.
Yeah, he got a decent exit there, and that's going to keep the 21 machine at arm's length. He's still going to show his nose anyways. I think he's just trying to play games with him at this point, trying to see if we can continue to shake him off the racing line. 5 minutes left on the clock. Ahead of them is Peter Lee and Cristelli, those two a little bit in a similar battle. And there they are on your screen now, just about 0.6 of a second apart from one another.
Yeah, that gap starting to close down a little bit more. There you can see the 24 getting very, very close. He's just keeping up that pressure on the back of the 009 the best that he can. Peter Lee trying to move his way forward. Remember that Cristelli machine, we suspect, has some pretty significant damage to it.
And Lawson Christie got within 0.1 of a second, and actually Ziti just had it off through the corkscrew. Is he going to get a slowdown penalty for that? I'm not entirely sure. Christie's close behind him. He also looked like he was a little bit off as well. Still not serving that penalty. I think they maybe both had penalties they had to serve here. Let's check the replay, see if we can figure out if that's the case.
All right, let's jump back on this. So there we go. Ziti holding him off, dives down, taking the Zanardi line for sure. There is Ziti. Yeah, and I think Christie may have gotten it as well.
So just when he would have had a shot at it, he unfortunately cut that a little too tight. Let's watch this from our little digger cam here. There they are. Yeah, both of them get a little too greedy, unfortunately, and just cutting the line. Oh, but Lawson Christie has a great shot out of turn 6. This time, Ziti lifts. He saw what was coming. He's not going to fight it. And that brings Charlie Sumner up in touch with him as well. He is only about 0.3 of a second back. Could this be another spot lost for Blake?
It could. He's really just got to make sure that he's okay and doesn't lose too much focus here. If you lose one position, you really have to make sure you just gather everything back up under yourself and keep going forward. You do not want to let anything get to you here. But Lawson definitely looks, or Sumner rather, definitely looks like he could have a little bit of a run.
Not quite as aggressive as what we've been seeing there from Lawson Christie in his attempts to make the pass. So we come back forward to Peter Lee. Now about 0.7 of a second behind Cristelli. And we are at 2 laps to go next time they cross the line, because Wager is just crossing now. He's been in the thick of the traffic, by the way. He's stuck at about 3.3 seconds ahead of Luke with all that traffic he's overtaking, but he's still safely ahead and in the lead as we come through turn 6, and Peter Lee is watching that rear bumper, hoping that he can get a shot to try and make an overtake soon.
He's hoping for it and thinking about it, trying to take a little bit of an opposite line there. Going through the corkscrew is Peter Lee. Looks like he's got a better run going down through Rainy Curve, but can he keep it up to get behind Cristelli here? Cristelli gets a better run there through 10 though, Joe.
He does, but now he needs the good exit coming out of 11, and it doesn't look like it is there. I think he came in pretty shallow.
Yeah, it didn't exactly look like it. So now Lee knows he's got one shot and one shot only to try to do this. 1 lap to go. Tries to dive in very late going down to the Andretti hairpin. Able to keep it close in the middle and get good corner exit speed, so he'll be happy with that.
Don't need a replay of it, but Carmody had another spin in turn 6. Lost a lot of spots. He's down to 19th place now. Wagner is just taking the white flag as we speak. At 3.5 seconds over Eric Luke, is dealing with the same traffic that Wager did just a couple laps ago. There you see him on your screen. The black and red number 47 has been dominant in this season, with him having won 6 out of the 8 races so far, about to make it 7 out of 9.
Is indeed Jonathan Wager just putting on a masterclass yet again here today at Laguna Seca. That 47 Ferrari just untouchable.
And this will clinch the championship as well, we should remind our viewers, with this victory, because he will easily outscore Eric Luke. And coming around to take the white flag themselves, Peter Lee, man, he needs to get that exit off the slow corners so much better.
Really does, and it just doesn't look like he's got it. Flying up the hill now. There they go into the hairpin. Ah, so close.
But we got to go back to Jonathan Wager. He rounds turn 10 with only one between himself and the championship title here in the first ever PRL Ferrari Challenge Series. As he comes to the line, this is your winner and now champion. Jonathan Wager takes the victory here in California.
An amazing victory here on the season for Jonathan Wager, just proving what determination looks and sounds like here for the 47. Joe, this has been a masterclass. There is no other word for it.
Just spanked the field out there today. Oh, and Cristelli and Peter Lee have just come together in the corkscrew. He absolutely sent it in. And they are both going to lose positions as by goes Lawson Christie, by goes Blake Ziti, by goes Charles Sumner. That is 3 spots for each of them. And I think, oh no, Lee and Cristelli just came together again. I don't think that was intentional. I think that was damage on each of the cars, just unfortunately putting themselves on an awkward line. And Cristelli's going to let him through. As coming across, Christie will take 8th, and Ziti will finish 9th. Sumner getting a top 10. Wow, that was a weird finish there at the end for a couple of our cars, but looks like they're just about all across, so let's go through that finishing order. with Jonathan Wager. It doesn't look like that much with the distance there, 6.5 seconds, but there was never any doubt that he was going to take the victory here today, with Eric Luke still coming home with a valuable second to help him solidify that P2 in the championship. Jonathan Stetzel will have to try again at the final round to overtake him in the points, with third here today. Leif Hellberg, P4 for him, followed by Wildridge getting a top 5. Owen McLaughlin was 6th. Then you've got Ficadenti, P7. Christie up 7 spots here into 8th position, as Ziti was up even more than that, up 8 spots into 9th. And Sumner rounds out your top 10.
Rafael Bofill was one of the ones who fell down the order, 7 positions to come home in 11th, followed by Brian Hoskins with Peter Lee in 13th and David Cristelli in 14th after that last lap kerfluffle. Eric Evans was in 15th, followed by Yannick Belleville with Matthew Aubry and Barry Cochran behind him. Sean Carmody was in 19th and Drew DeWeese 20th.
And there you can see McCauley, Alexander, and Glover having a bad day. I think McCauley did actually manage to see the checkered flag, thankfully. But looks like we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Jonathan Wager. And Jonathan, not only is that the win, that is the championship. Congratulations. How do you feel?
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Shout out to you guys. You guys do a great job. And yeah, it was a great season.
It's not completely over yet. You got one more round to try to cap it off. But talk to us about this race. We saw your pace in practice and qualifying. It looked like really nobody could touch you, but you did have a little bit of an issue exiting the pits. What happened there?
I did. I was caught napping a little bit coming out of pits, and I had a slower stop to begin with. That's one of my weaknesses for sure. I got to work on pit stops. But yeah, just caught napping coming out of that kind of twisty end section of the pit lane, and kind of got the right 2 tires on the sand a little bit, and it caught me out.
Without anybody to really battle you on track for the lead itself, you did have to deal with a lot of traffic at the end. How were they behaved today? Did they
actually? Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, they were great behaved. Absolutely, a lot better than Lime Rock. That was a little bit stressful going through all the lap traffic, but today everyone was super well behaved, moved out of the way, and it was a great race.
Oh, great to hear that. Again, congratulations. I know you've already kind of thanked a few people. Any other shout outs you want to give before you go?
Not really. Just shout out to the PRL. It's my first time racing in a league in general, and they've always had it really well organized, and you guys do a great job, and that's about it.
Well, thank you very much. That was Jonathan Wager, the 7th win of the season for him here, and his newly crowned championship for the Ferrari Challenge. Real quick, we've got one with Eric Luke, 2nd place finisher. DJ has caught up with him.
I have indeed, Eric. A good run out here today. Jonathan kind of ran away with it, but coming home clean at Laguna Seca has got to feel pretty good regardless.
Yeah, it feels pretty good, and I don't want to shock you guys, but I did come in 2nd again. It seems to be the story going on here lately. So yeah, it was pretty fun race. I had John keeping me honest the whole time, so props to him for sticking with me through it. Lap traffic was a little bit tricky, but we all gave each other space, and it seemed to work out well.
Well, I mean, obviously now that the championship is officially wrapped up in all of that, we go to Hungary next week. Do you think that's going to be a little bit of fun? What do you have in store?
Well, considering I've never turned a lap there before, it's going to be, we'll call it interesting.
Well, all right. We'll leave it at interesting then, and wish you the best of luck there, Eric. Anybody you want to thank for the run today?
Big thanks to you guys, Global Sim Racing Channel. You guys do a bang-up job, as always. Apex Button Box, thank you for the sponsorship, as well as Sim Racing Madness. Check out those guys, simracingmadness.com. I appreciate it, gentlemen.
Well, that was Eric Luke, our 2nd place finisher, which is going to wrap up our coverage of the first race. But the racing is not over. As you can see, we head off to Barcelona in just a few minutes. Definitely stick around because the PRL GT3 Amateur Series is coming your way.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome to Barcelona. We're getting ready to watch the PRL GT3 Amateur Series here. This has been a fun one to watch with the pros last night, but in case you didn't see that race, why don't we head on to our track guide to introduce you to this course. Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona. The home of the Spanish Grand Prix for nearly 30 years, it's easy to forget that this is a relatively recently built track in Europe. It's known for its long, sweeping corners and hosts the highest level of open-wheel and motorcycle racing. Placing an emphasis on a good aerodynamic setup with high downforce cars, it's often overlooked that it offers plenty of overtaking for lower-tier racing as well. In fact, most don't take into account that this adaptable track has 5 different layouts to choose from. These range from the nearly 3-mile-long Grand Prix version to the minuscule 1-mile club circuit. Because of the pit straight being the longest acceleration zone, Elf is the most likely spot for drivers to get a pass done. After that, your next hope might be into La Caixa, which, depending on which layout you use, could be a sharpened set of 2 turns or one long hairpin with an opening radius. In the early 2000s, a chicane was added close to the end of the lap, but the old Europe car corner can still be run. The Spanish fans have some gorgeous views from the many hills dotted along the track. And with the international fame this place has built over time, it's no wonder they're almost always full come race day. Well, DJ, you and I have covered plenty of the vintage cars taking to this place and running the classic course, but this is the GP course. What is that going to be like trying to tackle it F1 style in GT3 cars?
Well, Joe, it's going to make overtaking just a hair more difficult around here, and that's really because that chicane coming off of Europe car and going down before New Holland really breaks up the flow of the circuit. You can still get a semi-decent draft going down into that first corner of Elf, but the way it switches back, it's very, very easy to hold on to if you are the leading car. From there on out, you got to watch out for some washouts, some of that aero wake that we talk about going up through Renault and Repsol. We may be able to see a pass or two get done going down into Laguna, but I doubt it. That's not really as heavy enough of a braking zone as you'd really want it to be. All around here, I think qualifying is going to be the key, and that's a good thing because we're right in the middle of it.
Absolutely. But before we get to that qualifying, let's take a look at the points for this series. And very similarly, it could be clinched today, but Kevin Norris has got to do some overtaking. He has got to outscore Trepanier by 2 points, or else Vincent clinches today. So he definitely has to finish in front of him. Well, I say that actually. He could get 3 bonus points if Vincent Trepanier does not, but then Trepanier cannot win the race, obviously. In the meantime, though, you can see it is pretty close between Campbell, Langlois, and Belval down in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. What about the teams?
Well, in that team's championship, Joe, much like the Ferrari Fixed Series, it's a little closer at the top with ASR AMA only holding a 7-point advantage over NCR Motorsports Yellow. So that one is more than likely going to go down to the wire next week. TML Motorsports, they're a fair ways back, not within striking distance, but YS Motorsports, they have a shot to be able to overtake there for P3. Parabola NFR, though, they hold on to P5, and that rounds out the top of your team standings.
This race is going to be a little bit different from what we saw on the last one, and it is going to be a 40-minute event for these guys. And it is open setup as opposed to what we saw before with it being fixed setup. And that could make a difference. Whoever could maybe trim out the car just a hair to try and find some speed down the straights to get some overtakes done. Disqualifications and penalties are the same, along with those bonus points as we mentioned before. Looks like drivers just getting some times in. And hey, Nathan Nicholson, who has had the legs over Vincent Trepanier, appears to have continued that trend by a little over a 10th of a second.
He has indeed. Devin Horvath coming up there in 3rd, but crucially, Kevin Norris down in 4th right now, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that for the championship battle. Hopefully, he'll do better. We saw a lot of Porsches tend to dominate out here yesterday, and it looked like the BMWs just weren't really able to keep up, but in this early stage of qualifying, it looks like a pretty even split between Porsche and BMW, with Rob Campbell in the Ferrari and Philippe Mignon in the Lamborghini in 5th and 6th.
So Trepanier continuing on around as he works his way out of Vert and into SIMMSA now. Still a terrifying corner even in these GT3 cars, even though they do have to lift and brake a little bit more than the F1 cars too. It's quite blind through there, braking hard. Just as the clouds start to come over here into Laguna, again, it's the modern GP version before their recent update to that turn. And so it is very sharp into that first apex. And this cloud cover might help a little bit cool down the track temperatures. It's still at 79 degrees Fahrenheit, but Trepanier just has a couple more corners to go, about 26 Celsius for our metric friends. And as he rounds the final corner out of New Holland, can he make up that 0.128 of a second? No, he cannot.
No, looks a little bit off there, and I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe see him pull off. We've seen a lot of drivers take that path. I'm seeing right now Kevin Norris and Alexander Breton both doing the same thing. Norris is going to be taking an outlap right here, trying to get his tires new to put in 2 good laps down. So we'll have to see if that strategy plays out there for the 774.
Still waiting on a couple cars to set times. Langlois, Zanadakis, and Vargas. Zanadakis has actually set a lap, but that one got deleted because he had an off-track. Langlois and Vargas are still looking for the first time through. But here is Kevin Norris. 0.02 of a second that he has to improve over Horvath, but he has to watch out behind because Campbell and Magnon are both within a 10th of a second of him.
Indeed, and I love that with the VR view there from Caven Norris. You can see just how far he is looking through the corner at Lakaja. Really giving us a good example of just what it can do. Oh, Alexander Breton has just had a big thwack coming out of SIMMSA.
Norris looks very slow into these corners. I can't tell if that's legitimate full-out pace for him or if he was just really setting himself up to get a launch here for this next lap as he crosses the line. That one didn't count. So, yeah, I think he was on an out lap there. Must have ducked in and is going to try one more time.
All right, so Caven Norris now. Remember, we said he came in to try to do that, so he'll be able to go out and do this. Nathan Nicholson, your provisional pole sitter, he's going to come to the line a little bit slower there, unable to improve on his previous time. Here comes Rob Campbell, currently carrying the standard for the Prancing Horse. Oh, that car is looking slippery coming through the chicanes.
Yeah, that's not going to be a good time. Belval improves up to 13th, but pulls off, so his qualifying is done. Magnon looks like he's on an out lap and just starts his flyers. We watch Kyle Robertson, who looks like he's preparing the car for a real flyer here.
Yeah, it looks like he's warming up the tires there. I think these drivers getting a little bit spooked by the cloud cover coming over. Here comes Caven Norris as he's working his way around. That is through the all-crucial SIMMSA corner. So very tricky in a modern Formula One car. That is flat out as can be. In these GT3s, you've got to feather the throttle just right before to get it right.
We're running out of time. In fact, drivers who do not start a lap right now will not be able to complete their laps. So this is it. Everybody is now on their finishing last lap. And Vargas is coming across as I watch him. A 45.3. That is good enough for 15th place for him. Caven Norris is up next. What can he do from 4th? Can he improve? 44.310. He does just enough to overtake Horvath.
He does indeed, but here comes Nathan Nicholson to see if he can improve on his provisional time. He is going to call it quits, dive off into the pits. I see the 14th, that's Richard Swindells, has had an off through the chicanes that may slow some drivers down around him. I think Bowie Suin may be one of those that got caught out, but here comes Philippe Magnon as he tries to get that Lamborghini higher than 6th place.
Giving those curbs a wide berth, and, well, he's actually going to pit in. Desjardins goes faster. He goes up to 16th. Zanadakis gets one on the board finally. 15th position for him. Looking behind as there's Zanadakis down into turn 1. Is Espina going to be our last one? No, it looks like Robertson can finish, and that is it. Those two are the last drivers. So, as Paul takes his number 20 down into the chicane, a bit of an awkward line. He's looking very off of his footing here today. Down in 19th, that is very low for the 20 car compared to what we're used to seeing. And as he crosses, he does improve to a 45.428, but only by 100th of a second. And now we wait for Robertson and his green and black machine. What is his time going to be? A 45 flat is not an improvement, and that is it. Our grid is set. So your starting order for today: Nicholson looking to make it his 4th win on the season here, as Trepanier wants to try and finish on a high. He's currently looking like he could take that championship over Norris the way their pace has been, as he is a row ahead of Caven, who starts in 3rd. He's desperately clinging to keeping this to the final round. Horvath was 4th, with Rob Campbell qualifying in 5th as Philippe Magnon starts from 6th position. Breton starts from 7th, followed by Tavitas in the 8th position. Pavolano 9th, and Robertson rounds out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th, it's going to be Gabriel Moreau, followed by Kwok Nin, with Claude Belval and Richard Swindells behind them. Nico Zanadakis will be in 15th, with Marc-Andre Desjardins in 16th. Lucio Vargas will start off in 17th, followed by Jean-Claude Langlois, with Paul Espina in an uncharacteristic 19th position. David Morse in 20th, and Bowie Suin and Jason Burmeister round out your 22-car field.
Well, both of the fields have narrowed down a bit, unfortunately, since the start of the season. But it's looking like it's going to be an intense race with only 3 seconds separating first to 22nd position. Drivers are quite closely matched out there. We're waiting for the pace car to lead them through. Still not much change, although looks like the cloud cover has lightened up a bit since qualifying. It was very dark for quite some time there in that session. Good to see the sun back down, even though the drivers probably don't want it and want that track to stay nice and cool.
Yeah, they do not want that track temperature rising too much, but if it stays in about the high 70s, low 80s, that should be enough.
So, considering we have 22 cars here and 22nd place gets 9 points, Trepanier didn't get the bonus for pole. He could still get it for fastest lap, and he could still get the cleanest race bonus. So, we'll need to watch out for that. But, basically, what it depends on now is if Trepanier gets to halfway through the race, that's the championship. He'll get a score no matter what that will put him out of reach from Kevin Norris.
Well, all right, Caven is just going to have to hope then that Vincent has something bad happen to him here, but let's knock on all the wood because we want to see nothing but clean racing out of this series. They provided some great action over the course of the previous 8 races, and Joe, I expect nothing less going into Barcelona today.
All right, so as the drivers come out of that tricky chicane, they're trying to give each other a little bit of space there so that nobody wrecks into one another. Pace car is already off. Nicholson has control of the field. And he is on it. Green flag is out. Good jump by Nathan. And in fact, Trepanier is under threat because to his inside, that is Kevin Norris. That is the exact opposite of what he wants here. Trying to finish ahead of him to keep this going to the last round as they accelerate down into Elf. He is going to be able to get that second place. Critical move for Kevin Norris.
Very critical move and very gutsy move. You saw him get his elbows out there a little bit, going down into the braking zone, just pushing Trepanier off to the side a little bit. Perfectly clean maneuver, but clearly stating his intentions. Behind, we've got a couple of guys going multiple wide. There they go as they all file on through. But Kevin Norris looking very aggressive. Ooh, a little bit of a love tap there to Nathan Nicholson.
Just touched the rear bumper. Thankfully did not turn him around. Looks like a lot of changing positions in the back, but yet we're still not seeing any major wrecks from our drivers. This is fierce stuff as they come out of Vert and up towards SIMMSA. Now they start to get quite single file.
Indeed, they do. At least in that front pack, they do hold some cones flying off in the background. Our cone friends aren't going to be happy about that, but Kevin Norris maybe looking to the outside there, and that's Trepanier looking to the inside.
Opened the door for him, but Trepanier cannot step through. Horvath also watching from 4th position, way wide from Vincent. It does not give up the spot to the white number 32 Porsche. And I think Vargas has had an issue. He's gone off track up through Bonk Sabadell. He's going to be able to get it going once again. We follow the leaders to complete lap 1. A correction for myself. It is not clinched with the halfway mark. I had done my math wrong on that. Apologies to everybody. And look at the weaving that Nicholson is already doing, trying to break the slipstream.
Oh, that is a lot of moves there, trying to get out of that draft. Nicholson knows that Kevin Norris is coming on strong, and Norris setting the fastest lap of the race here early on, but that overspeed left him on a little bit of a disadvantage coming up through Elf. Look at the gap that's fallen back there. He's still able to keep relatively close to the back of Nicholson, but that was not the run out of that first corner that he would have wanted.
We watch on board. There is the webcam of Kevin Norris. And I got to ask Kevin, introduce me to your tailor because I really like that shirt. But in the meantime, the cut of his jib is for first place because Norris once again attacks on Nicholson, trying to see if he can scare him off the racing line.
I love this aggression here from Kevin Norris, just doing everything that he can to try to push his way forward. They work their way up through SIMMSA. He is really fighting that wheel. You see that little bit of aero wash that he is having to fight through. Now he tucks up behind in that draft. He's going to poke his nose to the outside. That's going to have to be a late maneuver, and there comes Trepanier!
Just a little ghost contact between them. but that shoved him wide, and Trepanier backs out, doesn't take the spot. He'll stay in that third position. Man, if Norris was holding something back in qualifying and practice, he is unleashing it now. The threat that he's been putting on Nicholson is just immense.
It really and truly is, and I have to say I love the sportsmanship there out of Vincent Trepanier. There was that little bit of contact in between the two. He saw it, he recognized it, he backed off, he gave the position back. That is what the Precision Racing League is all about. Is Rob Campbell there in that Ferrari setting the fastest lap of the race here on lap 3?
Yeah, he's catching up to Horvath. This is becoming a 5-car train at the front of the field. The Canadian is starting to see if he can threaten the 32. So we follow them from above around Renault down to Repsol here. I think Nicholson has had enough of this. He's starting to pull away from the 774, making sure he gets some distances behind there. You can see getting a little bit wide. Horvath almost loses himself to Campbell, and Campbell starts to poke his nose down into Seat, scares him off the racing line, and a spin. He tips him the rest of the way around. He's going to lose speed. Here comes Philippe Magnon. He gets into fourth place. Another spot potentially down. No, Tavitas thought about trying to pass Campbell, but decided against it.
We're going to go back and check out the replay on this, Joe. Let's see if there indeed was contact here. We ride on board with Rob Campbell in that 93 Ferrari. That is Horvath right ahead of him. You said he pokes his nose down to the inside. There you can see it. Let's see. Yeah, just a little bit of a love tap there, unfortunately, for Rob Campbell.
Sends him off to the side, and you could see Campbell was trying desperately to stay out of it when that happened, but I don't think the touch started it. I think the car was already going around, unfortunately. So Campbell down to 5th after that one. Philippe Magnon in front of him. And in fact, if we go to Campbell and Tavitas, Ethan is really filling up the mirrors of that 93. Does he try and make the move? He's not showing his nose yet. No, he's going to stay behind.
Yeah, just decides to not try to poke his nose there too much, but that allows a little bit for Tavitas to get a little bit interested into this battle. We jump back here as we ride on board. That is Tavitas. As you can see, Campbell, I think, trying to get ahead on that Lamborghini, and here comes Breton working on Tavitas as well.
Alexander got mighty close, but he wasn't able to make the move. He drifts wide coming out of Repsol. It switches back around into Seat, but it also drops in elevation. Look at the track just fall away here. Coming down towards Vert. Looks like Tavitas has a much better handling car through that corner as he gets himself some distance. And Espina's had problems in Seat.
Indeed, he has. Espina looking like he is pointing the wrong way around, but able to get that car back and going now. I think Bowie Suin also having some problems as well. Or no, that's just a pass with him and David Morse. Let's ride on board here with Espina as he goes through Seat. Let's see what happens. 16 to the outside of him. That's Swindells. He just lost that on his own. He carried a little bit too much speed into the corner, Joe.
Yeah. And he was a little offline there with the car to the inside, too. So, unfortunately, a little bit too difficult to hold control of it. So we come back live. Nicholson still our leader. Norris in second. Trepanier in third. That has not changed. We come to Robertson now. Kyle chasing on Moreau, one of the teammates to Espina. This is for the 8th position. Don't think Kyle's quite close enough. That Porsche is going to have to make a wild dive on the Ferrari to make that attack stick, and he decides not to.
And there you can see on board with Kyle. And this will give us a great opportunity to talk about this Porsche, Joe. We talked about it almost every single race, and we talked about it last night with the Porsche and the Lamborghini. There tends to be a little bit more tire wear in those two cars. The Lambo just tends to abuse its rear tires, as does the Porsche with the rear engine, rear wheel drive, and especially around these long sweeping corners. very easy to just get fractions of tire spin and overheat those tires. So the drivers in the Porsches may look a little strong right here, but they have got to be managing tire wear virtually since the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, so many long corners around this track. That's got to be tough. Really, the face on Robertson is just incredibly focused here. He is trying to remain ultra diligent around this track, never letting up. 31 minutes left to go on the clock, so still plenty of racing. We're only about a quarter of the way through. Something's happened to Kwoknin. He's pulled off to the side of the track. He hasn't touched anyone. He's got an issue of some sort. That must be a technical problem because he's just now parked there.
I wonder if that's some kind of, it looks like his steering wheel.
He's resetting his wheel there, and now he's rolling. Yeah, something must have needed a reboot there for him. Well, that's a shame because I was going to mention before he let everybody by there, he had gone from a pit lane start up to about 17th position. He was slowly picking them off. I wonder if he maybe started from pit lane because of some of these issues, and maybe he'll have to park it in the end.
Yeah, maybe, but we keep our eyes focused here on these battles that keep just not going away. Rob Campbell trying to close in on Mignon ahead of him, but it looks like Tavitas is the one in the driver's seat here, putting some good pressure to him, but he's got to watch out for Breton behind him as he's also applying a decent amount of pressure in that purple BMW.
Yeah, remember, Magnon kind of snatched that spot up with an opportunistic move. So Campbell is trying to catch back up. In fact, his last lap was about 0.2 quicker. And Tavitas, who we see just behind him, is also keeping some pressure on the 93. Whoa, and a little bit wide down through Lakaja, as Tavitas has to check up to keep from running into the side of the 93.
Indeed, he does, trying to keep it up the best he can. There they go, diving down here. Looks like all those drivers doing a good job. They've got to be careful there. One of the things that makes this series of chicanes so difficult is those big yellow sausage curves on the inside. You've got to be very careful. Now carrying good speed out of New Holland. It doesn't look like Tavitas has the run he wanted.
No, he is way too far back from Campbell now. It's about 0.6 of a second between them. This is kind of what we're used to seeing here at Barcelona, though. Drivers struggling to stay as close as they need to be. Boy, they take a lot of that curb at turn 1 as well. Got to be careful not to get a slowdown penalty by taking too much.
Looked like Rob Campbell there going a little bit wide coming up through turn 3. Didn't cost him a whole lot of time, but now as they make their way through Repsol, well, but at the exit of the corner, Tavitas,
Moreau! Another of the cars on this team have suddenly found themselves facing the wrong way. He's going to get it going just as Espina actually catches him. But here's the replay. And nobody was touching him. That was driver error. Oh, he's very lucky. Whoa. I got to figure out who that was that just had a slight touch there.
Well, and Joe, I wonder if there may be a setup problem in this team. That's the second time we've seen through relatively medium speed corners the rear end give away on those Ferraris. Here it is coming on through. I think that's Xanadakis.
Yeah, it is. Just barely touched him. Great job by everybody coming around that corner to manage to avoid. They all kind of had to go into the grass, unfortunately, but they're still racing. That's the important thing. Just lost maybe a few tenths of a second. Gabriel Moreau keeps going. And is there damage on the front? I'm trying to see if that little touch caused him any. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, I think he's clean.
Yeah, it looks all pretty good there. All those little aerofoils working out. But we're going to check back here. Vincent Trepanier starting to put a little pressure here to his title rival, Caven Norris. Wider line there going through Repsol, just trying to carry some momentum. Caven wise to the attack. He backed up that corner at the apex a little bit and forced Vincent to check back.
Checking to see on fastest lap right now. That goes to Caven Norris, so that is critical. This second place for Caven will get him 32 points. Third for Trepanier will get him 30. That is without taking into account the incident point bonus as well. So as it stands, Norris will keep himself in the hunt for the championship, but just barely.
Yeah, just barely indeed. It'll bring us just down to the line potentially and maybe set up for a fantastic battle next week out.
Absolutely. It will mean he'll have to outscore Trepanier by quite a few points if it finishes as is. But he'll still have at least a little bit of hope on that one as they come through the final chicane. Have they caught Nicholson this lap? I don't think he was this close before. Whoa! And got a little bit of a battle down through Europe car.
That was Nico Zanadakis saying, "Thank you very much, sir. I would like that position," moving himself past Claude Belval, but Belval able to keep up the speed as they go on to the main straightaway here. That's Zanadakis fading off to the right. That'll be the inside line by the time they get down to Elf, trying to see what they can do there side by side, almost doing a little bit of NASCAR side drafting as they go down into the corner. It's a battle of the late breakers. It looks like Belval starts to carry it. Little bit of a hip check.
Zanadakis has to back out, and that battle went over many, many corners, actually. It started in Lakasia. They went side by side all the way up to Europe car, and then finally was decided there through Elf. Let's see. And here's the replay of the racing. This is fair to me, that little bit of a touch.
Actually, Joe, you know what? Watching that again, I don't think Belval had any fault in that whatsoever. If you watch that, Zanadakis catches the inside curb here, and that car is very slightly out of control. He is not in control of it. He's sliding there, so that's just incidental contact.
Oof, man. This is good stuff amongst our drivers. And right now, up at the very front, Nicholson, he has been caught. It was at 1.3 last lap. It's down to 0.9 of a second. Nicholson almost looks like he's struggled a little bit. In fact, he's going defensive and weaving across the track once again to try and break the slipstream. They're allowed to do that. It is a 1:45.7 last lap for Nicholson. Norris with a 45.2.
Yeah, no Michael Massey out here to wag his finger about weaving across the track, so everybody's going to be okay with that. But the problem with it is that it makes sense to try to break the draft, Joe, but you and I have talked about this. Weaving like that scrubs speed off of your tires. It scrubs your speed off, and I don't think it's that effective overall.
Yeah, I've always been of the opinion that it's a silly move to make. Norris just made a mistake, and he is going to find himself losing P2 to his title rival with his own silly move. Oh, my goodness. Coming off of Seat here on the replay, just that tiny bit wide.
Oh, just that little bit is enough to absolutely throw you off, Joe, and that's what he did.
But if we come back live, Norris is still within 0.2 of a second. He's not giving this one up. It looks like he is relatively close on pace with Trepanier. I wonder if he'll start thinking pit strategy and hopes that he can try and leapfrog him and get back ahead. Will he come in this time? Nope, none of them entering into pit lane.
Yeah, pit strategy around here at Barcelona can be very, very crucial. Yes, you get a good draft down this long main straightaway, but at the same time, if you're able to run in some clean air, that is really where you want to be, because you are able to get through the second and third sectors of these tracks this track without having to bunch up behind somebody. Kevin Norris out on a mission right here. He kicked up a whole bunch of dirt coming through Elf right now. He is pushing like the Dickens.
I guarantee you that Norris knew the situation coming into this race for the championship. I bet you he's been practicing and working hard to give himself pace. He really wants to be in front of that 87 car down through Seat. Let's hope that this one's nice and clean this time. It is, but he loses a couple inches up to that BMW ahead.
Yes, he does. Tries to gain it back there through the braking into Verth, able to avoid that little sausage curb on the inside. Let's see how they take SIMMSA. Earlier apex there for Caven, but he's able to carry some good speed down this back straight. It's not going to be enough to close up behind, I think, on Trepignet, but he is definitely gaining, and they're gaining on Nicholson in front as well.
I was going to say, despite this battling, they have not lost touch with the 87. He's still not running the greatest of laps. I wonder if there's some damage on the underside of the car or something that we can't see on that Porsche, because I'm looking at the lap times and they're just massively slower than what they were before. On to the front stretch. Let's see what the lap time is going to be this time. It was a 45.3 last time by 45.4. Yeah, still slow, but let's go to Trepignet, because Norris has the run. Vincent doesn't defend. He's going to leave the door open as they come to the braking down into Elf. Norris is back through once again.
I'm surprised Trepignet didn't put up more of a fight there, Joe. Here he may come on it, though. He's got a good run coming up through Renault. Could he take a gutsy move down into Repsol? He thinks about it, tries to force Caven off to a different line, but that's just going to allow for Trepignet to take a later apex into the corner, try to carry some more speed going down into Seat.
That was an early entry there from Kevin Norris. He was covering off, and he does it again. This time, though, it was very shallow as well into the turn. But Trepignet can't get the shot off of the left-hander. Down into Vert, looking to try and maximize the speed as the track weaves back and forth, dips, and then rises up into SIMMSA. Ooh, he is looking strong the early part of that corner, but not on the exit as much.
No, but Caven looked a little bit squirrely there, trying to get the car straightened up coming off of SIMMSA. I wonder if he was just fighting a little bit of slow-moving oversteer there as that car came off onto the curbing. Here they come now, working their way out of those final couple of corners. This is the area where, for Trepignet, he's just trying to stay behind and keep close to get a good blast through New Holland.
Alrighty, off of New Holland and on the front stretch once again. It looks like Trepignet is not going to be as close as Norris was, but he's going to feel the effects of the slipstream as they emerge from the stands. He's too far back to me. That's still about 0.4 of a second.
As we jump back here, this is Swindells with Marc-Andre Desjardins and Nico Zanadakis leading this whole pack right now. So it is a BMW sandwich, a Ferrari there in the middle, and the Ferrari looks like it wants to get itself ahead. Swindells junks his way to the inside, tries to be later on the brakes, but Zanadakis is very aggressive there, able to hold it out. Holy moly!
That'll keep him 11th place for now, behind giving watch Desjardins, trying to see if he could get something out of this. He sees the two of them fighting, knowing they're going to be distracted and slowed up if they keep going side by side into the corners. Not so here into Repsol, but both Swindells and Desjardins went in very deep.
They did indeed, and they're kind of lucky that they both did the same thing. There you see Zanadakis just taking that corner as wide. Oh, Rob Campbell having another issue. It just looks like all of these Ferrari drivers not having a good day, Joe.
No, and he spun on his own. This is right here into Vert. The rear swings around, and thankfully he goes off the racing line. and is able to return without any sort of incident, but he lost the spot to Tavitas and Breton.
Joe, that's the third Ferrari we've seen have that problem. And in this new Evo, obviously the old GT3, the 488, was known as being a very good all-around car. I've not seen that sort of medium to high-speed corner instability. I'm very curious if there's a setup thing going on here as Campbell's going to call it a day there and hop on into the pits to get some fuel.
Yeah, so might as well, after having the spin, see if he could tweak something on the car to get it handling a little bit more to his liking. As we now watch through Renault, we've come back here to this battle between Trepanier and Norris. He's got him within half a second, and critically, Nicholson looks like he has responded now. Has the car down to a 45.2 last time by, and it back up to about a second ahead of them.
Yeah, he was able to get the lap time down to a 45.2 last time, as you said, about 3,000 or 6,000ths of a second faster than Kevin Norris. I'm not sure if that was maybe just him trying to cool his tires for a couple of laps there, Joe, or what it was. We've talked about some of that tire wear issue in the Porsche. That could be what's going on. But crucially here, Rob Campbell, the first of our leaders to dive down pit lane, he's not going to be the last one. We are in the pit window.
Indeed. In fact, within the next 5 minutes, you should see pretty much everybody try to come onto the lane for service as we watch them now come up to lap traffic as well. That's Kwok Nin, last driver on the lead lap. In fact, last driver on track currently, having to deal with some technical issues, so this is not completely his pace. And Norris must have made a mistake because Trepanier is extremely close now, and Norris knows it. Unlike Vincent, he is going to cover. He's going to try and hold him off down into Elf. He's got that inside line. He drifts back as far to the outside as he can go, and he'll retain second place.
That is how you put up a defense, Joe. That was absolutely perfect from Kevin Norris. You said it yourself. He covered off that inside line and then drifted back to try to compromise Trepanier's line as much as possible going down into Elf. But Trepanier not done yet as they make their way through Repsol right now. He's trying to see if he's got a little bit of something. Runs a little bit wide there on the exit into Sayat. And now it looks like they've got Kwok Nin right up ahead of them. That'll be some lap traffic for them to deal with.
Nicely done by Norris, but now he's got to keep the mistakes down. He can't give this spot back. Remember, he needs to outscore Trepanier to try and keep his championship hopes alive. Does he still have the fastest lap? Yes, I believe he does. So, and there was a late move there. Once again, weaving back and forth a little bit, and they almost make contact through Lakaija. Norris will retain the second spot, but Trepanier getting a little bit more aggressive now.
He's certainly starting to get feisty, Joe, and that is not something we've really seen out of Vincent Trepanier this entire season. He is normally a driver that is just calm, cool, and collected, but I think he knows what's at stake here. He wants to try to wrap up this championship as quickly as possible. Ooh, that was a little bit of a run wide there for Kevin Norris, and just barely wide there coming out of that final corner of New Holland. Trepanier is going to get a little bit of a good draft here, but that's going to be again Kevin trying to block it off to the inside, then goes back onto the racing line. Trepanier not going to make an assault.
And Nathan Nicholson has been laughing his way to the bank ever since this erupted, because it's up to 2.5 seconds and pretty much about 2 laps, I'd say. There is the distances on your screen. Looks like Swindell's going to be our latest to pit in this time. Oh, another little move from Trepanier. Vincent has got the bit between his teeth right now. He said enough of this back and forth and allowing him through. I want the spot back, and he's going to get to the inside. Down into Sayat. Can he complete the pass? Keeping up the momentum. Kevin Norris is going to remain wheel-to-wheel down into Vert, but it's not really a too wide turn. They're going to make it one this time, and Norris gets it back around the outside.
Oh, Oh my goodness gracious, Joe, whoever said you can't pass around the second sector of Barcelona is crazy. Let's go back and check out this replay.
I thought this was done and dusted right here. He had the outside line, pinched him just enough. The 774. What did he eat for breakfast this morning? Because this is just an amazing performance out of him.
Absolutely incredible from Kevin Norris. This is what happens when you get down into title championship deciding races. Drivers putting it all on the line, and both drivers dive down pit lane.
Both of them diving very late as well. I said at the top of the show, with nothing left to lose, some drivers might pull some surprises, and Norris has definitely got us turning our heads and weaving back and forth a little bit. That actually will slow him down on the pit limiter there a little bit, so better stop that. We're going to watch the comparisons.
All right, looks like both of them got into the box okay. Kevin out earlier. That is about all right, but that's
Much
a
earlier.
little bit more. Yeah, that's about a half a second faster there for Kevin Norris. Oh, and that is crucial. That is Nico Zanadakis, a car who has not come into the pits yet. He separates the two of them.
Oh, and this is bad news for Vincent, because he will want to try and get by him, especially if Nikos is slower here along the lap. So Norris has clean air in front of him, but his rival does not. We're down to the final 11 minutes of this race, and Trepanier got to do this one on the track.
Does indeed, and he has just got to hope that he can dispatch Nico Zanadakis as fast as possible and not let Kevin Norris run too far away with this. Thankfully, they were far enough ahead of the rest of these drivers. I don't think he's going to be in any concern of getting attacked from behind. There, he's looking this way and that as they make their way up through Verth. You really can't make a move going there through SIMMSA, but a better run for Trepanier. I think he may try to have the move here going down into Lakaja.
He's got the inside line. I think Zanadakis saw the writing on the wall, or is he going for the over-under? Nope, he is not. So Trepanier has gotten past, but the damage is done. It's 2 seconds up to Kevin Norris. Time to put the afterburners on.
Indeed, this is where you've got to drive like a champion, Vincent. If you want to take this, you've got to go for it and go for broke here. The rest of the field up ahead of them looks like they are all pitting. Nicholson, Tavitas, Breton, Robertson all diving on in.
Ooh, Nicholson is back out. Where is Norris? Did he gain enough? He was faster than Nicholson in the pit stop, but no. He's going to emerge about 3 seconds behind Nathan. So win, probably not on the cards, at least based on what we've seen so far. But a second place and a potential shot at the championship into the final round makes it still doable.
It does indeed. Everybody having gone down pit lane at this point as we tick down with 9 minutes to go here on the clock. Oh, this is where it all comes down to, Joe.
Absolutely. And the drivers, as Swindells, wow, Swindells just made a great, or no, it was Zanadakis who made a great move over Swindells, actually, to retain a position. Let's take a look at this. Replay is going to start on pit exit. That is Zanadakis in the blue car. Swindells in the red, white, and black has to immediately go into a battle, holds his position, grits his teeth, and he'll take 11th.
Well, and that is exactly the kind of aggressive driving we have seen out of Nico Zanadakis this season. He has been a real revelation the past 2 seasons in the GT3 Championship for the Precision Racing League. Great to see him out there currently riding around in 11th place. He's got about 8 seconds up the road to Claude Belval, so I think this is about as best as he's going to do. But look at that behind him. Richard Swindell is not letting this go away quietly quite yet.
Takes a little bit of a look, but he's not there. In fact, almost could have been a defense as Horvath closed in under braking. Yeah, Zanadakis with 3 top 5s so far this season and sits 9th in the points currently. It looks like he is going to be just outside of the top 10 in this race. because he's got 8 seconds up to Claude Bilval at this stage. It's going to be all about that defense with 3 very hungry drivers behind him.
Indeed, and that was a little bit of a warning sign there. You saw him coming out of that second chicane. Oh, but we got to jump ahead. This is a side-by-side battle. I said Bilval earlier. This is Bilval and Pabalano as they go into the corner. Ow!
Pabalano loses it. The rear goes around. He's going to be able to get going without any sort of issues as, Swindell's now loses another one. Horvath sized him up and snatched up 12th place into Elf.
Did indeed. Let's go back and check out this replay. Swindell's just waiting there. You can see coming on by. There goes Devin Horvath. That is a hard move to pull off with Nico Xanadakis right there. So easy to overblow the braking zone and plow into the back of that BMW. So massive kudos to Devin Horvath.
But Horvath was trying. He was looking left and right through both Repsol and Seat, and Swindell's was having to defend from Desjardins as they went 2 by 2 through those corners. Now they have gotten back to single file, but Horvath, can he try and overtake Nikos? From what we've seen, the 07 is not going to make it easy, but he's a little slow off the turn. He knows it. He goes defensive. Horvath forced to the outside and braking just a little bit early. Nikos puts them wheel to wheel through Lakaja. The hard hairpin allows it to continue on into Bog Sabadell, but looking around the outside, somehow finding the grip. Xanadakis back ahead. Horvath is going to have to try something else.
Wow, that was a defense there from Nico Xanadakis. Oh, Swindell's took a little bit of a look there down on Horvath going into the chicanes, but that's going to really check him up, I fear, going down the straightaways. It may put him in danger of being overtaken by Marc-Andre Desjardins here.
Looks like Xanadakis well far away from Horvath, but Swindell's, as you mentioned, has the 27 getting ever closer, and Espina is starting to reel them in. Breaking down into the first corner. Nobody's showing any signs of an attempt this time.
No, nobody looking at it quite yet. Looks like there Horvath has a little bit of a glimmer of hope as they work their way towards Repsol. But he's going to have to try very hard to get anything done around there. Later apex, though, there for the Porsche. Just seeing what he can get by on that BMW.
And I mentioned Espina a moment ago. Well, he was a 1.5 seconds a lap faster last time. My goodness. I think Paul has got a good shot at things. And Horvath gets to the inside, down on Xanadakis. Xanadakis can't defend from the long way around. In fact, he is going to have to defend again. Swindell's thinks and then thinks twice.
Does indeed, and with the momentum that Xanadakis was carrying there coming through SIMMSA, I almost thought he was going to have a run back at Horvath, but not able to do so. Better line! Ooh!
Just about slammed into the rear bumper of the 32. That cost him a lot of time. Look at how much farther back he is now. And catching up to the tail of things, Paul Espina has now officially joined the party.
Well, these guys are gonna have to get a bigger table because we just have more and more cars joining into this fight. It is getting absolutely ridiculous. Checking back here, though, this is a pretty good battle starting to shape up. This is Campbell and Breton.
Yeah, Alexander had to defend into turn 1, and Campbell could not make the move stick. Let's take a look at the replay. Forced him to the outside, and he knew the jig was up. Decided to back out of it.
And so there he is. He's only got a couple of more laps to try to get this in, and it looks a little bit like Breton is able to pull away after that lunge. Going back to that battle we were following earlier, Joe, here is Espina on the back of the field.
Yeah, you mentioned a lunge. That's exactly what the 20 just did, but it didn't pay off. Desjardins covered him off, but Desjardins is hot into Seat and loses some time as Espina isn't close enough to capitalize. He'll have to try and get right up on top of that bumper. Maybe he could get a shot down into Lakaja if he exits SimRacing. Let's watch as we continue to ride on board.
Looks like he backed off a little bit there, but that's a bad run out of it for Desjardins. Here comes Espina to the outside. He's got the speed if he wants it. Dives it down. Battle of the late breakers looking for the crossover move if he can get it done, but it's not quite close enough.
Both of them fighting hard there on that one. And did Campbell just have a problem? Whoa, as this battle almost keeps going down into Europe car. And we don't need a replay, but Campbell had a spin. Another one for your mystery file here. It was a Ferrari losing the rear on its own.
Very, very interesting, Joe. But here we continue to watch one of those Ferraris that's doing pretty well for himself. That is Espina. Desjardins jerking to the inside. Here comes Espina on the outside trying to carry the speed. Almost coming to contact and banging doors down the main straightaway. They're onto the brakes here. It's going to be Desjardins with the preferred line, but Espina tries to cut it back. Not able to make it work.
Marc-Andre Desjardins retains that 14th place as we come up to the 20 car now of Espina. Oh, and once again, ooh, that was a little naughty. Oh, and he's going to pay for it, unfortunately, not from the stewards, but from the grass, as Marc-Andre cut in way too early, sent it in too deep, and then slipped to the outside.
And we watch this back on replay. Just a little bit over aggressive of a defense there. Yeah, just tried to cut off that line from him the best that he could. Even Espina getting a little bit wiggly there coming through that as a result of it.
I would have been thrown off by that late block too. Oh, and Desjardins is off in verts. Looks like he made a little contact with the wall. By the way, white flag just waved for Nicholson. Still about 4 seconds over Norris, but Norris is about 1.5 over Trepanier. Not much of a change for a podium.
Yeah, ever since the pit stops, we've really seen this all just sort of flatten out up front. As we watch here, this is Richard Swindells back in 13th, trying to close in on Nico Xanadakis. Xanadakis, remember, was under assault here a little bit earlier and has just been able to hold off that pressure incredibly well.
Yeah, those spins and problems that we've just witnessed has separated pretty much all of our field, a second or more away from one another. Swindells is our closest fight here on the last lap. A bit sad to see it peter out before we get to the checkers, but you never know. As he tries to catch up to Xanadakis, and it seems like he has much better pace. My goodness, it's gone from about 1.1 down to 0.6 of a second. Is Nico experiencing damage, or is he shy on fuel?
I'm not sure if he's shy on fuel, maybe just overheated the tires a little bit, Joe. But one way or another, it looks like Swindells is coming on strong.
Down into Sayat, tries to square off that exit, but we got to take off and look at Nathan Nicholson. He's taken 3 wins so far this season. He is going to make it 4. He could actually tie Trepanier for wins here if he wins the next one, but for now, his victory at Barcelona is helping him get back into the hunt for the top 5.
It is indeed. Great job there from Nathan Nicholson, just having some fun. Kevin Norris able to cross the line ahead of his title rival, Vincent Trepanier.
Everybody else kind of coming through one by one, but Xanadakis has it down to about 0.4 of a second over Swindells. Not many places to pass from here, though. It's going to take something desperate from Richard to be able to overtake. A little bit deep from Xanadakis. Is that going to do it? Down into the line. It's very close. Unless he sputters on fuel, he should have it safe. And it looks like Xanadakis is clear. He is going to wind up in that 12th position. That was close, though. That wraps up our battles, which means we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to Barcelona. We just watched round 9 of the PRL GT3 Amateur Series, and it was Nathan Nicholson who has really been dominating here late in the season. He took yet another victory, but Kevin Norris managed to finish second ahead of his title rival, Vincent Trepanier. I can confirm that neither of them took the bonus points, so with the regular score and on top of it, the fastest lap to Kevin Norris, he has put himself a little bit better than just shy of in the hunt for the championship, but it's still going to be difficult. Magnan is fourth today with Ethan Tavitas in fifth place. It is Breton in sixth, followed by Robertson in seventh. Claude Belval finishes P8. Rob Campbell having some trouble today, falling back from fifth to ninth, and Pavolano finishes 10th.
In 11th, it was Devin Horvath, followed by pretty much the star of a lot of the late race action there, Nico Xanadakis. Richard Swindells was 13th, and Paul Espina 14th, recovering from an early race spin. Lucio Vargas came home in 15th, followed by Marc-Andre Desjardins, with Bowie Suin and David Morris in 17th and 18th. Behind them, it was Kwok Nin and Jason Burmeister, with Gabriel Moreau and Jean-Claude Langlois finishing behind them.
And then you see our last two, as we now talk to Kevin Norris, who finished in second today, but more critically, kept himself involved in the championship. Kevin, that was impressive stuff. Not just your driving out on the track, but how ferociously you fought Vincent just for the opportunity to take this down to the finale. Were you aware of the point situation coming in and having to outscore him?
No, I was just going for the race, doing my best, and just finishing as top as I can.
Well, that's exactly what you did. You're still narrowly able to stay in the hunt here for this championship by outscoring Vincent there today. What were some of the challenges you faced in trying to stay ahead of him, though? Because it looked like you two were very close on pace.
Yeah, I was struggling a little bit when he was behind me. I had to, I missed my braking point one time, the chicane, so I had to leave him. The spot, and I think like 2 laps after that, I managed to get in front of him again.
Well, the season finale is going to be at Bathurst, so if there's any place that you could hope for giving you some wild results and maybe giving you hope of the championship, that would be it. How do you fare, though, there? Are you usually pretty good?
Not racing many times there, maybe like 3 races, so I'll do the same thing as this week, just trying to do my best, and anyway, still have the second spot. I'm happy with that.
That sounds like the best that you can do. Well, again, congratulations. Is there anybody you want to thank? And also, very nice shirt. You've enamored us with your wardrobe.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Is there anybody you wanted to thank?
Yeah, of course. Alexandre Breton, Advanced SimRacing, Phil Bouchard, Guillaume Lévesque, Andrew Caron. And yeah, and you guys, honestly, it's very fun.
That was Kevin Norris, second place finisher today and retaining second in the championship, beating his rival on track. Up next, DJ has caught up with Nathan Nicholson, our winner here.
I have indeed, Nathan. A pole position here for you. It looked like you drove away from it, but not without some pressure from the beginning. But talk me through that race, my friend.
Yeah, going into the race, I knew the issue was going to be the first 3 laps. The setup we had really didn't kick in until then. And once it did, I got about a second gap and tried to stay there, save some fuel. I was able to go an extra lap, and I think that gave me an edge.
On a track like Barcelona, where it is known as being a little bit harder to pass, does that change your mentality at all when you're leading? I mean, are you not necessarily looking behind you as much, or are you just driving your own race?
Yeah, with this track, it's really interesting in these cars. In the corners, it's really hard to pass, but the draft is really strong down that front straight. So I was really just trying to keep them at around 1.5 seconds, and I was happy with that.
Well, obviously, the championship is out of reach for you, but you've got one more race to try to hang your hat on. That is Bathurst. It's always crazy there, but how do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be just as crazy as always. It's Bathurst, you know.
It's just about the only way to say it, I think. But Nathan, anybody you want to thank for this run here today?
Yeah, I want to thank Carl Modoff. Really helped me out with this track. I want to thank Delta Sport, Move Up, Race Factory, Freem USA, United for Kids, Get Stuck, Driven Texas, Extreme Sim Racing, and Jonathan.
Well, thank you so much, Nathan. That was Nathan Nicholson, your winner here today at Barcelona.
Which is going to wrap up our interview. So we want to give a big thank you to the sponsors here in the PRL. They, of course, include ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. As well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And SIMMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at simply simracingmerch.com/GSRC. There's a link down in the description below if you don't want to type it in. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. And as we mentioned, a week from now, we head to the finale. Ferraris at Hungary and GT3s at Bathurst. That'll be November 23rd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out, mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.